They sent him to Earth as an observer, one of their best. A scout trained to survive black holes, decode extinct languages, and face species that feed on thought. He left with confidence. He returned in silence. No ship, no data, no explanation. Just him walking out of the rift gate, barefoot, eyes wide, skin pale, and hands trembling like a creature pulled from the jaws of something far older than death. The council demanded answers. He said only this: I saw cities still breathing, machines dreaming, and something in the dirt listening. And then, before anyone could ask another question, he collapsed, muttering one phrase over and over. It's awake now, and it knows we're watching. He stepped off the transport pod with a half-zipped jacket, a crooked grin, and a bag of snacks no one could identify. Commander Riker Dahl, Earth's first and only volunteer for the mission, looked nothing like the elite scouts the Council had approved. While others wore adaptive armor and Neuralink helmets, Riker had earbuds dangling from his ears, humming to ancient Earth music labeled lo-fi chill beats. A towering Mekthar technician blinked its tri-eyes at him. You are the one they chose? Riker popped a piece of dried mango into his mouth and shrugged. They said, I'm the only one crazy enough to say yes. Others trained in psionic warfare, molecular linguistics, and survival against hive minds. Riker once survived a crash on Europa by playing dead until the Predator got bored, where his competitors stood with discipline and purpose. Riker leaned against the wall and casually asked, Is there a vending machine around here? Or do you guys not do snacks? There were murmurs, concerned, confused, amused, but no one could deny it. He was going in, alone, and by some absurd twist of fate, he wasn't afraid. Not yet. It had been over 300 years since any species had dared set foot on Earth. Not since the quarantine protocols were activated. Not since the blackout. But now, after endless debate, the Council of Warden Worlds had reached a decision. One being would go. One would see if Earth still breathed, or if the silence had meaning far worse than death. The mission was simple on paper. Enter, observe, report. But everyone knew nothing from Earth had ever come back. And yet, Riker Dahl volunteered. While most scoffed at his casual demeanor, one did not. High Archon Velcor, the last surviving commander of the pre-quarantine war, watched from the shadows of the chamber. Ancient, battle-scarred, draped in ceremonial armor woven with quantum-coded psalms. He had long believed that Earth was a cursed place, an aberration that should have been erased, not sealed. Sending a human back is a mistake. Velcor growled, They carry chaos in their genes. They'll awaken what we buried. Counselor Zelia tilted her head. Perhaps that's what we need now. Someone who doesn't follow the rules. Velcor's eyes narrowed. Then prepare the eulogies. Odds across the galaxy were clear. 97.2% chance of total neural dissolution. 1.3% chance of spatial disintegration. 0.0001% chance of return. And still, Riker grinned, saluted the council with 2 fingers, and said, I've always wanted to visit home. The final preparation zone was a sterile, high-gravity chamber designed to simulate Earth's unstable biosphere. Most previous candidates, non-human, of course, entered with ritual chants, genetic calibrations, and biosuits laced with fail-safes. Riker? Riker walked in wearing a faded hoodie that said, Area 51 Fun Run. I came. I ran. I was abducted. He was chewing gum. He glanced around at the gravity stabilizers, sniffed the air like he was judging a barbecue pit, and casually laid down a yoga mat. What is this ritual? A 3-eyed analyst whispered to her superior. Riker dropped into downward dog. Stretching. Can't face ancient planetary nightmares with tight hamstrings, you know. Then he pulled out a cassette player, a relic so old even the tech historians blinked, and hit play. A lo-fi Earth track filled the chamber, complete with vinyl crackle and distant rain sounds. Somewhere in the observation deck, a crystalline strategist sputtered. This must be psychological warfare. No being is this relaxed before entering a death zone. Riker, still mid-stretch, shouted up toward the glass. Hey, if I die in there, delete my browser history, yeah? A few chuckles. A few horrified gasps. One ancient judge fainted. Unpredictable, undisciplined, entirely human. And yet, something about him made even the most seasoned veterans pause. The descent was smooth. The silence wasn't. Riker's boots hit the cracked soil of Earth like thunder through a graveyard. There were no cities in sight, just ruins entangled in metal vines, satellite husks rusted into mountains, and a sky that blinked unnaturally, like the planet itself was watching. First encounter, the whispering grid. A swarm of microdrones activated the moment he crossed a rusted highway. They formed a geometric halo around him, projecting encrypted visuals and whispering languages that hadn't been spoken since the collapse. Riker pulled out a Sharpie and started drawing stick figures on his helmet visor. The grid paused, recalibrated, then flickered. The drone shorted, overloaded by the nonsense. "I call that one the techno freakout shuffle," he muttered. Second encounter, the memory pit. In the ruins of an ancient school, a psychic pulse hit him, projecting traumatic echoes from humanity's past. War, plague, fire, screams. Most minds would collapse. Riker blinked, took a deep breath, and said out loud, "Nice try. I've watched cable news. This is basically a Tuesday." The illusion faltered. Third encounter, the siren broadcast. An automated AI tower attempted to lure him in by manifesting a perfect virtual replica of his childhood home, complete with his mother baking cookies, and a beagle named Toby wagging its tail. Riker squinted. "Nice dog. Too bad I grew up in an orbital mining rig." Then he chucked an old Earth coin into the hologram's emitter core, short-circuiting the tower with his own forgotten currency. Each test became stranger, more sentient. Like Earth wasn't trying to kill him, it was trying to understand him. Back at Mission Control, observers watched in growing disbelief. "He's not resisting," one technician whispered. "He's confusing it." "No, he's humanizing it." And somewhere beneath the soil, something ancient stirred. The warlord who knew what Earth really was. In the subterranean chambers beneath the Council Citadel, where light bent under the weight of history and silence was enforced by memory rather than rule, High Archon Velcor of the Dominion Order stood alone. He did not sit. He never had. The warlords of the old time believed, sitting weak in the spine, and the will. His armor had not been polished in centuries, not because he didn't care for appearances, but because the scars were sacred. Each scratch told a story. Each dent was a hymn. They were the last truth in a galaxy filled with illusions. Velcor had fought in the Earth Purge. The first one, the one no one ever spoke of publicly, the one that was erased from council records, scrubbed from databanks, and buried under the lie of a containment operation. He had seen Earth when it bled, and he knew what it truly was. A thick crystal wall projected the footage in real time. Riker Dahl, the human, moving through what should have been a dead world and surviving. No, not surviving. Befriending it. Velcor's secondary hearts beat unevenly. His vision flickered for a moment, an old side effect of neural scarring from the Earth front lines. "Pause playback," he growled. The image froze on Riker standing before the siren broadcast tower, just before he tossed the obsolete Earth coin into its emitter. The machine had shut down instantly, like it had recognized the gesture. The room was silent. Even the monitoring drones held their position. Velcor's voice was low, graveled, ancient. That tower was a final defense cognitive trap designed by Terran Resistance engineers during the last phase of the war. It should have erased his identity and turned him into a living transmitter. Instead, he bribed it. He turned his head slightly to address the council observer standing behind him, a young Sarathian analyst barely old enough to remember pre-quarantine events. "What do you see when you look at him?" Velcor asked without turning back. The analyst blinked. I see a disorganized, reckless life form relying on chance and instinct. Primitive." Velcor smiled coldly. "Wrong." For a moment, Velcor let the past bleed in. Earth had not fallen with a scream. It had simply gone quiet. The war had started with formal engagements, diplomatic ultimatums, strategic strikes. But Earth didn't respond like any other world. It adapted in chaos. It used madness as methodology, unpredictability as purpose. We outnumbered them. outgunned them, surrounded their systems, and burned their orbital stations. And they won anyway. Not through power, through defiance, through refusing to play the game the way it had always been played. There were legends of humans weaponizing memes, using satire to infiltrate AI networks, causing collapse not through force, but through confusion. They didn't destroy order. They made it irrelevant. Velcor had seen a Terran soldier walk unarmored into a drone pit and offer machines a philosophical riddle that triggered an existential cascade. A whole battalion of Dominion warbots had simply shut down, not through violence, through dissonance. Back in the chamber, the footage resumed. Riker was now examining a derelict orbital capsule. He tapped on its hull with his knuckles, whistling a tune no one could identify. Then casually he said aloud, "Still feels like home, you know?" The translator AI misfired. 3 times. Velcor's grip tightened around the armrest. He refused to sit in. The human wasn't resisting Earth's psychic remnants. He wasn't evading traps. He wasn't even countering them. He was being accepted, not because of strength, not because of heritage, but because Earth liked him. Do you understand what that means? Velcor asked the analyst. No, High Archon. It means Earth remembers. And it's choosing. Council hallways bustled with debate as Riker's progress continued. Diplomats argued for containment. Scientists demanded analysis. Religious leaders whispered a prophecy. But none of them understood the threat like Velcor did. To them, Riker Dahl was a curiosity, a freak result, an amusing glitch in protocol. To Velcor, he was a living fracture in the foundation of everything. For centuries, the galactic powers had held peace through structure, tradition, hierarchy, order, systems that required predictable players, civilizations that agreed to the rules, even in war. Humanity had never agreed to those rules. The last time they played by our rules, they lost, so they rewrote them. They turned losing into evolution. And now, one of them was walking through the ashes of their homeworld, not just surviving, but smiling. Velcor activated a private communication channel, an encoded neural transmission routed through 5 dying stars. A familiar voice answered, "You're calling me. That means something's gone wrong." Velcor didn't blink. "It's happening again." Silence. "You're sure?" "I was there the first time. I know the signs. The planet is waking. The code buried beneath its surface, its identity, is responding. Not to invasion, but to recognition. Then you know what must be done." Velcor's tone darkened. "The Council will never allow it." "Then bypass them." Velcor looked back to the screen one last time, where Riker was now petting a mechanical dog scavenged from a broken suburb, humming like he'd just found an old friend. And Earth hummed with him. Velcor whispered to no one. He isn't breaking the rules. He's reminding the galaxy that Earth never had any. Word spread faster than light across a galactic network. A single human, Riker Dahl, was not only still alive on Earth's haunted surface, but had penetrated deeper than any scout or special ops unit before him. The usual cold assessment of protocol gave way to something unprecedented. Panic. In the grand halls of the Intergalactic Observation Forum, dignitaries from thousands of star systems leaned forward as live feeds flickered on holographic displays. The room hummed with tension, the kind that twists stomachs and sharpens eyes. Error does not compute blinked across betting terminals on floors of countless gambling dens orbiting trade hubs and warships alike. No algorithm could predict Riker's progress. No historical data could prepare anyone for his methods that weren't just unconventional. They were alien in their own right. Spectators whisper behind veils of synthesized breath. A human? On Earth? Still standing? No armor? No tactical AI? Just human instinct? He's turning Earth's dangers into his allies. That's impossible. They said the planet was dead. A tomb, but it's waking for him. Even the veteran commanders of the Dominion Order, sworn to uphold tradition and suppress aberrations, found themselves unnerved. The High Council chambers buzz with debate. "He disrespects our tactics," grumbled a stone-faced general, his voice echoing in the vaulted room. "He mocks centuries of strategy with his casual defiance. His unpredictability breaks the chain of command, whispers Serathean advisor, rubbing a crystal pendant nervously. No one knows how to counter him. Meanwhile, Riker moved through the ruins of Forgotten City, an ancient battlefield reanimated by his presence. He wasn't just surviving, he was rewriting the rules of engagement. Each step challenged the galaxy's expectations of what a warrior could be. In a message sent to his team before the final mission phase, Riker joked, "Guess it's true. When you're the last human, you get to make your own playbook." Unorthodox? Yes. Reckless? Definitely. But utterly effective. As Riker advanced, the final confrontation loomed like a shadow stretching across the shattered horizon of Earth's memory. The galaxy held its breath, spectators torn between fear and awe. The question wasn't if he could survive. It was what he would change once he did. The ruined plains of old Earth lay silent beneath an overcast sky that felt heavier than usual, as if the very atmosphere held its breath for the final act. The air shimmered faintly, residual echoes of ancient tech and psychic memory, waiting to witness a battle centuries in the making. From one side, High Archon Velcor emerged, a towering figure clad in armor forged from the hardest alloys of Dominion, engraved with centuries-old runes. Every movement he made was deliberate, precise, a living monument to order and tradition. His voice, when he spoke, was a rumble that could shake mountains. "You tread where no human should survive, Riker. Your defiance is an insult to all who value discipline." Across the battlefield, Riker Dahl adjusted the worn strap of his battered jacket, cracking his knuckles with an easy grin. No armor, no weapons other than a scavenged multi-tool and a rusty old communicator that occasionally hissed static. "Discipline's overrated," Riker said, his tone casual, almost playful. "I prefer improvisation." Velcor's eyes narrowed, sensing the chaotic storm beneath the human's calm exterior. With a roar, Velcor launched his attack, a torrent of kinetic energy bolts weaving a deadly web, precise as a celestial clock. Each shot was calculated to corner, to trap, to end the fight quickly and decisively. Riker, however, danced through barrage with unpredictable steps, ducking behind twisted metal remnants and leaping over shattered concrete. His movements weren't rehearsed or graceful. They were raw, instinctive, born of survival. "Ever heard of luck?" Riker joked, pulling a small laser pointer from his pocket and flicking it toward Velcor's visor. The bright red darted mockingly across the ancient armor, disrupting the Archon sensors for a crucial second. Velcor hissed in frustration. Swinging a mighty arm that sent a shockwave crashing to the ruins, Velcor's attacks intensified, a spiraling dance of power and precision. His voice echoed, commanding the very ground beneath them to erupt with shards of energy. But Riker's weapon was not raw force. It was adaptability. He shifted tactics mid-fight, using the environment to his advantage, blinding flashes from broken screens, makeshift traps crafted from fallen tech. Even echoes of old Earth music played on his communicator to unsettle Velcor's rhythm. At one point, Riker paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "Hey, you ever tried rock, paper, scissors?" he called out, smirking. Velcor blinked, confusion crossing his battle-hardened face. "You're predictable," Riker said. "You rely on patterns. Let's see if you can beat this." He tossed out a handful of rocks, literal rocks, scattering the ground and forcing Velcor to adapt in real time. Just when the battle seemed to tilt in Velcor's favor, Riker activated his communicator's last secret, a pulse of ancient Earth code embedded in the device, causing a ripple in the battlefield's temporal field. Velcor staggered as time itself seemed to hesitate, caught between moments. Riker took a deep breath and whispered, "Earth taught me that sometimes you don't fight the game. You change it." With a surge of energy, Riker closed the distance, landing a strike that was less about power and more about connection, his hand resting briefly on Velcor's armor, transmitting a signal of something long forgotten. Understanding, Velcor's armor dimmed. The warlord's rigid stance softened just enough to admit a hard truth. "This is not defeat," Velcor said quietly. "It is evolution." Riker grinned. "Yeah, evolution sounds about right." The battlefield, once a place of death and silence, now hummed with new possibilities. A future where old rules bent under the weight of unexpected players. The battlefield lay quiet once more, but the air was thick with something new. Possibility. Velcor, the embodiment of centuries-old tradition, stood beside Riker, no longer as an enemy, but as a witness to a new era unfolding. Velcor's armored scales shimmered, not with the fury of combat, but with something more contemplative, an ancient pattern of thought, slowly shifting. Perfection, Velcor murmured, is a cage. It leaves no room for evolution. His voice held a grudging respect. Riker, wiping the grime from his face, let out a small laugh and shook his head. That's exactly it. All those rules, those strict codes, aren't walls to trap us. They're starting points, challenges to push past. Rules aren't limits. They're opportunities. Across the galaxy, the ripples of this confrontation began to spread. News networks buzzed with the tale of a lone human who had returned from Earth's dead surface, alone, undefeated, and unbroken. His victory wasn't just personal. It was a challenge to the rigid systems that had governed combat and survival for millennia. In training halls from the glittering towers of Nexus Prime to the deep caves of Zeldar, instructors debated new strategies, inspired by Riker's unpredictability and raw adaptability. The old ways were not dead, but they were no longer enough. Riker gazed out toward the horizon. Earth's scars were a reminder of battles fought, losses endured, and lessons learned. The terrors he'd faced had shaped him, but they did not define him. For the first time in generations, the future felt unwritten. Maybe, Riker said softly, the scariest thing isn't what we face out there, but what we're capable of becoming. And with that, the lone human took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. A.S. Riker's image flickered across hollow screens galaxy-wide. A single encrypted message zipped through the data streams back to Earth. Mission accomplished. Send the rest. In quiet command rooms, officials exchanged nervous glances. Across countless star systems, training academies adjusted their curriculums overnight. New simulations activated, designed to anticipate the unpredictable. Whispers spread like wildfire. Humanity was no longer just a footnote in the cosmic saga. They were a wild card, a storm that had only just begun to rise. Some said Riker was a one-off, a fluke of survival. Others knew better. Because when humans adapt, they don't just survive, they rewrite the rules. And the galaxy was about to learn just how terrifying that could be.